Everybody, welcome to Action A Go Go. I've got the pleasure of meeting with Tim Wilson today, aka Blackmagictim, and we're going to talk about cinematography and technology and all the good stuff.
That sounds like a great plan.
Cool.
So how do we jump into this?
So go ahead, just give me a little bit of a biography or introduction to yourself.
Okay, well, Tim Wilson, as you said, and I'm known as Blackmagictim, the cinematographer from the future. And I wasn't always the cinematographer from the future. I do have a past where I was not all the way in the future, but when I look back at my history, it did start very futuristically because I've always been ahead of things before other people kind of get into it. And that moniker kind of stuck because I just continued to innovate things that didn't exist. In order to do the things that I wanted to do, I had to improvise. So I became the cinematographer from the future by using a exosuit now to film things.
That's awesome. So
and it's more deep than that, but I'm going to let you pull some more out.
now and also just to let people know, we are in the same circles, right? We've got some mutual friends. Are you from Silver Spring?
I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I'm a Washingtonian.
Okay.
I've been living in D.C. over 50 years. Just moved to Maryland now. So not a Washingtonian anymore, but it's still in my heart. And 90% of my work still comes from that area. So I'm down there all the time.
Yeah, my family's basically from D.C., but moved out to Silver Spring, Montgomery County sort of thing. But, you know, same circles sort of bit. But you also went to Howard University, right?
Went to Howard University, 1988 to 1992. When I went to Howard, I originally was going there for robotics and animation, Japanese animation, because I really wanted. The thing that inspired me to even get into film was animation. But before I got into animation, I was into robotics. And in high school, I used to build a lot of robots. And I entered a science fair and I won with this robot that I built. And from all the science fairs that I won with robotics, I eventually got a scholarship, a one-year scholarship to MIT, but I didn't go. I went to Howard. I didn't go because I was scared of math. So
me too.
I think
Don't
my
worry.
thing was, I liked sci-fi, I liked futuristic stuff, I liked robotics, but I don't think I was really ready for the math, the applied math that was needed to do what I really wanted to do. So I went to Howard in hopes of either doing robotics, which they didn't offer, animation, which they didn't offer.
Wow.
And the next best thing was film production. So I jumped into film because film allowed me to be creative and also create robots in film because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went into film. It was just a creative space for me to come in and be creative because it's something that I am creative in many aspects.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That is fascinating because so many people, I feel like they just want to get into film and it's their and it's almost the secret to cracking in, right? You devote everything to it and everything, but you were more interested in robotics and animation and then migrated to film because I mean, and I totally get it. At that time, like I was I think I'm a bit younger than you are, but I remember that first wave of animation and how amazing it was in the 80s and 90s, anime, manga, however you want to put it. And that's what your short film I didn't see everything, but Apple Crumb Panic you worked on in 1992.
Apple Crumb was the first real film that we did.
Okay.
But before that, let me go back a little bit. When I was at Howard, I still was pursuing animation. So I would have animation screenings in Screening Room West, which was the theater at Howard University. And I put flyers all up over the campus saying, you know, come see Robotech, come see Akira, come see
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Monster City. And I was getting these VHS tapes from Jeppy's Comic World in Silver Spring. Yep. And I would bring them here. And a lot of people hadn't heard of this stuff. And that's how I met some of my close friends that I have now, who we started a film company with in about 89, having Robotech screenings. And they would come out and watch Robotech. Like I said, my passion was robots, Robotech, anime, and film. And originally, when I got into film, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But during that time period, our group, which was Eric McLean, Kimothy Ennis, Tony Starnes, myself, we started shooting a lot of films on VHS. We were putting out at least 2 or 3 films a month, usually action-packed. that mirrored a lot of the films that we were showing, the anime films we were showing in theater, because we wanted to show VHS films that looked like anime that we created. And we were known as the Black Magic Bandits at Howard because we were doing very reckless, crazy things, shooting off fire extinguishers in the hallways to make smoke, car crashes, jumping off roofs. I mean, we did things people weren't doing as students. The professors didn't really, I mean, they respected us because we did such incredible things, but they really wanted us to do Afrocentric stuff. And we were like, no, we're Hollywood. We want to be ILM. We want to be Industrial Light and Magic. We want to be Lucas. We want to tell these, George Lucas films and Indiana Jones films. So we were rebellious in that regard. And that's kind of how it spawned Black Magic Cinema Works. It was the 3 to 4 of us. At one point it was 3, then it was 4, and then it was 3. We were black magicians. We were creating magic on film. And we created a film company called Blackmagictim Works, which originally became Black Magic Cinema Works, which was an official company in Washington, D.C. In 1995. We had a film company that was listed in Washington, D.C., and we were one of 3 black film companies in the area, and we were doing a lot of films on actual film, on celluloid, 16 and 35.
Wow. Interesting. And there's another thing that popped out. There was again, I'm going to focus on Apple Crumb Panic just because there was some stuff. But number one, it totally reminded me of Appleseed, which was awesome. It looked stunning. But also it got the attention of George Pelecanos, best-selling Silver Spring.
That was a very interesting story for me in my life. I feel like it was a transformative moment. We had put our film in a bunch of film festivals, and it was winning a lot of film festivals. We were traveling on the road with Apple Crumb Panic.
Wow.
I can't remember all the awards we won because it's so far back, but I remember we won the Rosebud Award. We were in the Washington Post about Apple Crumb Panic. It was touring with other films, and it caught the attention of George Pelecanos, who was a crime novelist in the area. I was also a person responsible for writing and I believe directing part of The Wire in Baltimore.
He produced.
And
The Wire and
produced, yeah.
Yep.
And at that time, he wasn't that George Pelecanos. Wow. And he asked us to come out to talk to some film people that he was associated with, what they call the Pettis Brothers. The Pettis Brothers had a studio called Circle Films, and they had a theater, I think in DuPont Circle. And they were film producers, and they were producing a lot of really cool films. They did a lot of films for Raising Arizona, I think some other martial arts films, but they were really well known for independent films. And they wanted to meet with us because they wanted to recreate Apple Crumb Panic into a feature film. And at the time, we were a little headstrong. We thought we were way more skilled than we were. And they wanted to give us $250,000 to remake Apple Crumb Panic, and we were frankly insulted by that. Wow. Because we had film cameras and we had a great script idea that we wanted to do, and what we wanted to do was Vector 2033, which is a film I tried to do later on in life, and we wanted $5 million. Wow. And we weren't going to take no for an answer.
Wow.
But
give me my money.
Yeah, but they said no, we'll give you $250. We'll put Angela Bassett in it, and we'll give you this deal if it does well. Yeah, Angela Bassett was just coming out at the time too. And it was crazy. And we turned it down. And I think that was a moment we all look back on as like, that was a defining moment that would have changed the trajectory of our lives. Because if we had done that film, we probably would have been a lot more known earlier on, but we didn't. And we never got that $5 million, obviously.
Got it. Well, you're still in the business, and you've done a lot. So let's transition a little bit here. I'm going to show your Instagram here, just because one of the reasons we're doing this is to just talk about cinematography, right? And I'd love to learn about it. And I've heard people say, like, directors are great, but cinematographers actually make the movie, right? Or they actually film the movie. Is that an accurate assessment to describe what a cinematographer does?
Well, it really just depends on the skill set of the director. I've worked with a lot of directors who are very, very smart and competent, and I've worked with a lot of directors who still need some work. And in those cases, I had more experience, so I was able to guide the storytelling a lot more. But initially, when I got into film, I wanted to be a director. I started off as a grip, went to a gaffer, and then I wanted to direct. And I directed a lot of national music videos in the early 90s. And I thought I really wanted to direct, but as time went on, I realized that I don't really like dealing with actors. And I think I only chose direction because all the hard work that went into making a movie, only the director got the credit and the actors. And
Mm.
I always felt like I would do all this work and never get credit for it. And I would be forgotten. So as time went on, I got into cinematography because one, I found out it was the most lucrative thing to do in film. And before that, I was a jack of all trades. I was doing special effects, editing, cinematography, grip lighting, but I kind of narrowed it down to strictly cinematography. And then I created a niche market on cinematography, which was doing Segway gimbal, which really fine tuned it and made it specialized, and that really took off. But
Hey,
I did want to be a director.
you did
Yeah,
want to be
I
the
have.
director. So just
I have
to
many of those suits. Yeah.
so this is, and well, thank you for sharing that, of course. But this stuff just amazes me, thinking about all this equipment, everything that goes into it. And I mean, you've got your beer, you've got your Segway.
Segway and video driving.
That is just so trippy. So how much, in terms of technology, right? What when you're ready to make a movie, and I'm just going to stop sharing again real quick. When you're ready to make a movie, what is your process for coming up, like your camera, the gear? Do you always want to be on the Segway, or you just want to sometimes just hold the camera?
Well, it depends on what facet I'm working in. So a lot of times I get hired for things that are not film related, like movie related. The last film that I worked on was now 6 years ago. It was called Mischief Upon Mischief. It was a sci-fi film, and I was just a cinematographer. And the director guided me along on his process of what he wanted to see. But I brought my exosuit and my Segway, and I did film probably 35, 40% of that in the exosuit on the Segway, and maybe another 30% just in the exosuit, and maybe another 20, 30% handheld, and rarely tripod because everything had to be in motion. Everything had to be moving and fluid. And it just helped production because one, I could get from point A to B faster. I could set up different shots quicker. I could always create some sort of dolly move without setting up tracks, so I was more efficient. And the images looked incredible. And it just was an efficient tool to, to tell stories quicker in a way, and it helped speed along the process. And when it comes to other things where I have a little bit more creative liberties, I still choose an exosuit because it helps carry the camera and not have to deal with a tripod. And I have like 4 exosuits, and they're all different. One may be small and compact that I can take on a plane. Another one may be bigger for a heavier camera. So I have different various stages of exosuits. And I think the choice really comes from what the project is.
Got it. Got it. So, but I'm noticing a theme here from that manga influence, that anime influence up till today. We're talking about exosuits. We're utilizing technology. So is that? I mean, obviously, it's one of your passions.
You know, I didn't really make that connection until probably 6 years ago. That I was heading in that direction where I was fusing my two loves together to make a unique skill set. Because before I even bought this exosuit, I was trying to build the exosuit. Before it even came to market, I was actually building a 2-armed exosuit with spring arms, like a Steadicam, because I knew that I needed to create something like Steadicam that could hold the gimbal on both sides. And I think after 3 months of building it, because I was going to make a Kickstarter page and develop it all the way and try to put it out to market. And then I think a company called Les Igles came out with an exosuit, and then Tilta came out with an exosuit, and the Tilta exosuit looked so much like mine. My heart was broken. I was like, wow, how did great minds think of the same things at the same time? Of course, they had the money and they put it out. And for a while, I was actually kind of pissed off that the suit was out and I didn't want to use it because it was like I felt like my technology was stolen.
Oh,
But
wow.
this isn't the first time that this has happened. I've always been that, like I say, I'm an innovator. I'm always ahead of the curve. Like early in the 80s, I made a wooden techno crane. It's like a Chapman crane, a crane that could lift the operator and the camera up, and it was made out of complete wood. It had a platform, it had weights on the end, it could rotate, it had wheels. but it was a huge wooden crane for this one movie that I was working on. And then I also created a Steadicam in 1990, based off the designs of the Steadicam. So I built a Steadicam, my own Steadicam. It was all made out of aluminum. So I've
Huh.
always been somebody who creates my own tools that I could not afford at the time. So when I got to this exosuit phase, when I saw the Segway come out, the Segway Mini, I said, this Segway Mini seems like it would really go well with my exosuit to make the shot smoother. Because one of the problems I had with exosuits was the what I call the Z-axis bounce. Because when you walk, the camera tends to move up and down, so the horizon tends to have a vibration in it. And I always wanted to take that vibration out. So I envisioned buying the Segway, which at the time was like $1,200. And
Is this here on screen? Is this the?
yeah, that's the Segway. I have 5 Segways.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, 5 Segways.
Top customer.
Yeah. They're all different styles. I got a heavy duty one, a big battery one, a light one, all kinds. But what happened was when I put the Segway and the exosuit together, it created something that had never been seen before. There was only one other person that I was aware of on Instagram that was doing what I was doing. I was a guy named Yuri in Canada, and we used to talk all the time because he was doing the same thing I was doing, and nobody was doing this. So not to say that this hasn't been done. People have used Segways with Steadicams before, but they used the huge Segways. I was one of the first people to put the mini Segway with the exosuit, and and it was following along with my ambition to make robotics, because here I was becoming a robot. I was becoming a cyborg, and it was a great marriage because even my company Cyberstone Digital is all about futurism in the future,
Yep.
and even in the name we're advanced visual technologies. So it's been a combination of putting together all the things that I like into my company to create an image of myself where I am the cinematographer for the future with futuristic gear, which eventually did move on to AI dogs and autonomous type of camera platforms. But
We're gonna get to that.
we'll get
We're
to
gonna
that.
get to that.
Yeah,
Trust me, because
yeah,
I'm ultra fascinated by that. Um,
yeah.
but maybe just real quick, I think we've sort of already answered this in a way, but compared to the early '90s when you started and now, how has the job of the cinematographer changed? Or what would you say are the biggest changes that you've seen besides the Segway and the arms you've made and everything, that have really changed your job through the years?
Cost, ease of use, uh, cost, ease of use. Those are the biggest ones right there. I mean, when I was shooting in film, the camera weighed at least 25 pounds.
Wow.
The film was very expensive. You had to load film in a bag in the dark. There was high chance of error. You could expose the film and ruin, $500, $600 worth of film. You could put in the camera backwards. You could have a hair in your gate. There was all kind of things you could go wrong. When digital video came out, you were able to record on a medium that, one was harder to damage. You can erase digital media by hitting erase, but it
You can.
wasn't the same type of loss.
Yeah.
And the weight, cameras got smaller and smaller, and the quality got better and better. And honestly, I never thought that digital video would compete with film or exceed film, but it did exceed film. And that's when I started Cyberpunk Digital, because I saw that the market was shifting away from film to digital video, and it's come such a long way. So for me, it's easy to use. I mean, the stuff I was doing with an Area 35 big heavy camera that you couldn't lift, on a Segway or an exosuit. I mean, you could, but it's just massively heavy. You can lift with ease now because the camera's so much smaller.
Wow.
And cost. I mean, a production then was easily 50,000 to do production, and you may make 10,000 because most of those costs went to film stock processing, color correction. Now you could, if you got 50,000, because also the budgets came down too. You technology just shifted so much, and that's what the constant theme that I keep seeing is that technology shifts, and you have to adapt with it. So for me, it has been cost and efficiency.
Got it. Got it. And that makes total sense. And I'm going to pull something up because you mentioned it. We might as well dive in and hit the. And and again, we're friends, so to speak. We've known each other a while, and I'll see your stuff
Well over
pop up.
25 since Jeffries, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, the early 2000s at least. But I'm gonna share this real quick. I try and make it big so I don't kill everybody.
Show 'em what you got, Playboy.
Oh, hold on. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So here we have a visitor from the future.
Your name is Bird and Show 'em what you got, Playboy. That's Canada just showing off some of his little tricks there.
So you named him Kaneda from Akira.
Bad boy. Canada K9, so it's a dog, but the rest is from Akira. Canada. It's pretty impressive. Good job. Good job.
So let me
Always impressed with you. See, so Canada's learned a new trick.
And you guys have a great relationship, which is great to see. But what are you doing with that thing? Number one, where did is that a Boston Dynamics robot? Is
No, it's a dog created by a company called Unitree in China, and basically they do, and I hate to say it, knockoff versions of the Boston Dynamics dogs. And I say that because I have a great relationship with Unitree, so I don't want to slander them in that way. They do really great, affordable dogs. And when I saw this dog, when I first saw the Boston Dynamics dog, I was fascinated by the fact that one, it was a quadruped, but two, it had this robot arm that was kind of like the head could stay like this, and no matter how the dog moved, the head stayed in place. You know what I'm saying? Like a duck head.
Yep.
And I said, "Damn, that's exactly what I need to put a camera on, because if the platform can move and they can keep that camera in that position, then you can do what you see the Bolt robot, does, which is the Bolt robot is the big cinema bot that kind of repeats moves over and over again. You see them on a lot of big films. But it has a track. It's like, 250,000, 400,000, $1 million. But I said, this is a way you could kind of make a Bolt robot that can be all terrain, and nobody has put a Bolt on a quadruped. So I wanted to do it, but when I looked up the price of Boston Dynamics dog and I saw the dog was like 100,000, I was like, well, I guess I won't be the one to do that one either. But as time went on and technology changes, the price came down, and they came out with this dog. And I said, I'm gonna. Oh, and let me also say, a camera did come out that I feel was designed especially for me. I think they loved me so much they made it for me, called the DJI 4D, which solved all of the problems that I had with my suits. That I used to go to NAB and talk to a bunch of vendors about creating, because one of the problems I mentioned was horizon issues with the exosuit with bounce, and I wanted to develop a stepper motor in the exo arms that could have a laser that could judge the distance of the ground, that could tell the stepper motor how high the arm is off the ground, so it would keep the head straight. But nobody was quite getting what I was saying, and nobody was doing it. So nobody's interested. And I also wanted a LiDAR based focus system, because cinema cameras, they don't like using automatic. That's kind of anti-film light. But now it's becoming more commonplace. But I wanted a LiDAR-based camera system where I could focus my motors when I moved in and out, that it would keep focus, because one of the hardest parts is keeping focus when you're moving on the dolly. So when the 4D came out, it solved two of those problems. It had LiDAR autofocus, and it had that laser that shot on the ground that kept that arm balanced. And I was like, this is exactly what I was asking for, all in a camera. So I said, well, if I could take this camera and put it on this dog, then I think I might be able to create what I was looking for. So that's why I bought the dog. And I put the camera on the dog. And being a pioneer, sometimes things work out, and sometimes it's not quite ready. So I'm on the bleeding edge of technology once again, where I have the tools, and I think it's not a hardware issue, it's more of a software issue. And the software is evolving with Chat GPT. I think eventually the software will be able to do what I need to do, but at this point, not quite there. Kind of like Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's in the zeitgeist, right? And I've been at once amazed and disappointed by AI. I'm working on a sci-fi novel. It's big hot rodders in the future sort of thing, but so I think about, where's AI going to be in 70 years or whatever it is. Here it
Less
is
than that,
now.
for sure.
But are you scared at all about being replaced by, whatever ChatGPT's video service is going to be? Like, I think of myself like, wow, one day could I sit down by myself and literally make a movie in an hour? Just like, show me this scene, show me that scene. Okay, now make him say this, now make him say that. Or do
let me tell you, the funny thing about it is, being someone who is a futurist, I've seen this future already long before anybody else did. When I used to talk about this stuff, people couldn't even relate to what I was talking about. In fact, I have another sci-fi film called Vector 2033, which actually talks about humans being replaced by cyborgs and AI, and Vector is there to destroy them, which is very funny because now we're in that space. And I did that in 2007, but it was based off a script that I wrote in 1993.
Okay, so Vector 2023, you it was 2023. That's the year. Oh,
2033,
last
and we're
year.
almost there. And I'll be damned if we're almost there. So
And
it's so strange how life mirrors art, or art mirrors life. How it goes.
so you wrote it and directed it.
I wrote, directed, did the visual effects, starred in it, everything. Yeah,
Cool.
and it almost killed me.
I bet.
Uh, yeah, because it was taking about 3 days to create every 3 seconds of that film. We shot it. It was a short film, but I never completed it because it was just too much. I was living on my credit card. I was going into debt. I wasn't working, but I was obsessed with trying to create it because I felt like I was onto something. Um, but I got off. I got off track with it, and I never got back to it. But I bring that up to say that when it comes to futurism and AI and where we're going, I could see that, as well as I could see that there was going to be a world where we put on glasses like these with clear lenses, and we see an augmented reality over top of this world, and people would do in that augmented reality, that metaverse, the same thing they do with Instagram, where you would have face filters. Like if you want to look a certain way, when you put on these glasses, you would see what the person wants you to see of them. You would see them driving that Ferrari when they're just driving a Pinto. You would see their beautiful house with all these beautiful toys when they don't own anything. I saw that coming. And I think we're on the cusp of that. But what I didn't see coming was uh, the augmented reality being controlled by AI, creating realms on its own at this stage. I thought we would be more in control of that. But as far as being scared of the future, I think my motto, my moniker has always been adapt or die, because this isn't the first time I've seen a great change in the industry where if you didn't adapt and go with it, you were going to fall behind. And there's been times I've fallen behind and had to catch up, and there's sometimes I'm ahead of the curve, and then sometimes I'm right on the curve. But you have to embrace it, whether you're scared of it, whether you think it's going to take over. If you don't adapt with it, it's eventually going to happen anyway. There's no way we can stop it. I knew we were going to have Netflix AI, where you can just go and just tell Netflix what you want to see, and it would create something custom tailored for you. And I think the part that I was saying that I didn't foresee was AI kind of already knowing you, so you don't even have to prompt it. You just turn it on. It already knows what you want to see. It knows me. It can pull all the stuff that I've done, and post it on the internet and say, hey, I know what Tim's going to like. He likes Stranger Things. He likes sci-fi. He likes anime. I'm going to make this movie all for him, and he's going to love it. And it'll probably be right in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? I'll watch something where the music is completely generated. Look where we are with GTA 6. I mean, we've got, non-playable characters who have their own life. We have things like Suno, where I created that song from just putting prompts in of what I've done, and they create unlimited tracks of stories about my life. And they sound dope, you know what I'm saying? Like rock songs. So it is very conceivable that in a short time, we would just be able to have our music generated by AI, visuals generated by AI, experiences generated by AI, and we probably won't even watch it on a TV set. We would just literally be in it, in the world, because eventually we're going to just put something on our head that's going to project that image, that sound, those experiences, those feelings into us, and we're going to have what we have now, which is called life.
Yeah.
So that's what we have.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in my normal job. I'm involved in technology, right? Manufacturing basically. And I've gotten to see and talk to some cool companies that are on that cutting edge. And it's amazing how people don't know what's right around the corner, but some of it they just don't talk about. But it's like I keep going back to the Matrix, right? It's
Yeah.
really crazy to me how that movie is still so relevant in so many ways, where you're right. Like we are going to be able to see into people's brains and read people's thoughts. It's really not science fiction. Like there's a
Right.
couple of companies I mean, that stuff that Elon Musk is working on with Neuralink, that's not even the real deal. Like
Yeah, we're going to bypass that. I think invasively we don't need to do that. I don't think it has to be invasive where you just plug in somebody's brain. Because I'm not electing for that. I'm not doing that. I don't think too many other people want to be a hole cut in their head.
But there's,
But
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, there's definitely non-invasive ways coming to do that. Where it can
Exactly.
just project it into your brain. That's
Yeah,
not hard to do.
there's
I
something
mean,
for.
it is hard to do. I can't believe I said that.
Well, it's
It's,
not
but
easy. That's why they pay the
right,
geniuses to work on it, right? But there's a
right.
company, this wasn't even a year or so ago, I saw where you could put this thing on the back of your head for your VR headset or something, and it can just, it knows you're looking at the X, so it'll select
Uh,
X for you. But
was
they,
that's not reading the irises.
no, it's
Oh,
literally reading what's going on in your ocular cortex in your brain.
oh, okay.
That's on the back of
Wasn't
your head.
not aware of that one. Yeah, doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me.
it's commercially available. And if it's
Yeah.
commercially available, you can only imagine what's going on in the, like you said, the
Well,
MIT labs and everything else.
right. AI has already figured out language models for how people talk. So animals all have every creature has the same picture reference for words. So when certain words are said and those images fire up in your brain, they fire up in all species. So they're able to create kind of a map to understand all languages. You know what I'm saying? So eventually we'll be able to communicate with pets. So why would you not think that it can't figure out your brain just the way it fires up? I mean, it's just natural. So we can read the output. It's just a matter of now putting the input in. And I know that's coming. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Whether it'll be in my time, I don't know, but we're headed that way, and we're setting up the tracks, the railroad system for that technology to take place. Now we're creating those metaverses, we're creating those algorithms for that technology to come into play. Kind of like the internet set up the pipelines for emails and what we're doing now with Zoom. They weren't thinking about that then, but they were setting up the railroads, and that's where we are now.
Okay.
So that go back to the answer to the question. Uh, yeah, I think technology is going to adapt and change, and we must adapt and change with it. And you have to be ahead of it or in it. And that's why I wanted to put my toe into, augmented reality, and also with Chat GPT enabled devices like a robot dog or like a humanoid, which is another thing I'm looking at. Getting a two-legged bipedal humanoid that's also being made by Unitree at an affordable price, because I want somebody to carry my gear. I'm tired of carrying stuff. So I want to have an army of, robotic cyborgs behind me when I come to a set and they're carrying my gear. Because I'm that guy.
Yeah, I could use one robot. Just coffee, please. Extra
Yeah.
milk, extra sugar, whatever.
Right. Right. We're there. And we're not there. We're literally like 5 years from there. So
Got it. Yeah, no, totally, totally. Okay, well, we've got like 5 minutes left, and I wanted to end with something that it's totally off the beaten path, but you told me about this recently.
ah.
What was it like meeting Bigfoot?
Well, first I didn't meet Bigfoot, and if I did, I probably wouldn't be here today. But I'm glad you did bring that up, because I did a little bit more research on the road that I was on. I was traveling. I was in Idaho shooting a film, feature sci-fi film, and early in the day, they left about noon. But it was a long day, and I wasn't ready to just drive out. It was a 5-hour, 6-hour drive. So me and my buddy Rich, who was also on set with me, we decided to leave later in the day. We left like at midnight because we wanted to get something to eat, just hang out and relax. I had no idea how treacherous this road was that we were going to travel. We were traveling down from Jerome, Idaho, which was south of Idaho, up to Nez Perce, Idaho, which was in the south. And it was a 365-mile drive through the deepest woods in America. And it was just this one trail. It was called Route 55. And when we started driving, it was just pitch dark. We were the only car on the road. So from 12 midnight till 5 in the morning, we were driving this road alone, just the two of us. And we saw so many creepy things. We're driving through these woods, and we see these tall trees, and we see cliffs that we could barely see because it was only lit by moonlight. And we could tell it was a ravine. It was really scary. Then we would drive through winter areas where it was snowing, and it was like, what have we done? What kind of hell have we put ourselves into? And I think while we were driving in the middle of that Route 55, we were making a turn on the highway, and in the distance there was this 20-foot weeping willow type tree that was out of place of all the pine trees that just stood out. And as the headlights were going by, it both caught our eyes because it was brown and it was weeping willow style, and all the other trees are green and stuck out like, tree stem. And we looked, and it's just as the headlights passed by, you gotta imagine, it was kind of like turned like this. As the headlights went by, we saw something go like this. Heart attack material. Like, we don't know what we saw. I just said to Rich, I said, did you see that? And he said, just keep driving, man. So our adrenaline was up from that because we thought we saw something supernatural, but since we didn't like lock on it long enough, I can't say 100% that I saw something like Bigfoot, or I can only say that we saw something out of the ordinary that seemed to have a head that turned and looked at us as we passed it. And the thing that really scared me the most is as soon as I got back to DC, me and my girlfriend at the time, it's not my wife, we were watching a documentary on Bigfoot, and they were talking about Bigfoot sightings on Route 55 in Idaho. And I
No,
had never heard that before.
no.
And then they talked about the Bigfoots being 20 feet tall, which I had never heard that they were 20. I knew they were tall. I thought they were like 8 feet or 10 feet, but I never heard 20 feet. That just sounded ridiculous because this thing was like the size of a tree. And then they said when they're seen, they tend to turn their backs, and so they can't be seen. So they look like a weeping willow, like, with the long. I was like, they did everything that I described on the trip. And that's what made it really scary. Because I was like, they just described pretty much what I felt like we saw.
Wow.
And like I said, if I wish, no, I don't wish, because we'd probably be dead. But I kind of wish that I had a camera roller or we stopped to take a second look. But I think if we stopped to take a second look, it probably would have taken us out.
Yeah, it was, well, and the conditions too. You don't be stuck out there with one of those things for sure. But that's
There was
our,
nothing else but us.
yeah, but we got 2 more minutes here. Let's sort of finish it out. As much as I wanted to learn more about Bigfoot and could talk about AI in the future all day, why don't you let us know where the best place to keep track of your stuff, your socials, all the good stuff.
The best place is probably Linktree, Blackmagictim. Linktree has all of my links to all my current links that come out. Second best is Instagram, Blackmagictim. And also, if you just Google Blackmagictim cinematographer, everything comes up, news articles and all these links that we're talking about. That's the best way to keep up with what's going on in the world of the cinematographer from the future.
Awesome. Tim, thank you so much.
Until we get Neuralink.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just be doing this the whole time.
Because then you'll just know everything. Right?
Well, Tim, thank you so much, bud. It's great catching up. Thank you for doing this interview.
Sure.
Definitely want to have you back sooner or later, and just best of luck with everything in the meantime, bud.
Thanks, man. That was the quickest 40 minutes I ever had.
It was fun. That's why. God bless, bud. Keep in touch.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
This is Derek Scarzella. Thank you so much for watching this video. Just doing a quick outro. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Above all, we want to hear what you have to say about this video, this movie, what it meant to you. Also, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, of course, YouTube. Check out our website, actionagogo.com. And of course, you can check out my own novels, Knuckle Crackbone, as well as The Vicious Game. Links are all down below. We also have a merch store if you want to enjoy our glorious Action A Go-Go electric logo, which is going to come right after this. And of course, again, thank you so much for watching. It's super appreciated. Hope you had a good time. I know we did. Bye.